Well, welcome everybody to Workshop Wednesday. It is great to have you here today. It's hard to believe it's towards the end of November. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving coming up next week. Today, as you know, with the holidays, we're getting closer to the end of the year. And so with that, today we're going to talk a little bit about how to plan for a successful 2025 with your FleetCommander system. So we're looking forward to sharing ideas with you and so forth today. And just a reminder for those of you who are new, welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Workshop Wednesday is Agile's monthly FleetCommander knowledge series. We have webinars that are scheduled on the third Wednesday of every month from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So you can mark it on your calendar for all of 25, and you'll be seeing us on that third Wednesday of the month. Your feedback is definitely also needed for different topics that you would like to learn about in these monthly webinars. So please feel free to reach out to us at any time and let us know what those ideas are. So before we begin today, just want to remind you, this webinar is being recorded and your mic will be muted during the webinar. And then this recording of the webinar will be available on our YouTube channel, and a copy of the slides and the recording will be sent to you in 1 to 2 business days. I highly encourage you to ask questions during Workshop Wednesday. This is your time to be able to ask questions, but we have staff on the line with us. We have multiple staff members on the line today with us on this call, and we can help you through anything that you need assistance with. So with that in mind, what you'll need to do is click to show the conversation button, and you can see that on the screen, what button you would need to click. And then please type your questions and also tell us what your first name is and the name of your organization, because that does not always come through for us when we are looking at the chat. So if you can please share your name and where you're from, that would be great in answering those questions. So in today's agenda, again, we're going to talk about how to have a successful 2025 with your FleetCommander system. And with that agenda, we're going to do a quick recap of 2024 command. We're going to talk about the top 5 tips for 2025 to make your fleet even more successful than it already is. We're going to preview some of those upcoming features for FleetCommander in 2025. We're going to recap what we learned today, and then we're going to also talk about some different resources that we have available. Your presenters today are myself, Kathy Wellick. I'm the Senior Director here at Client Success at Agile Fleet. And Mr. Todd Parks is also on with us today, and he's the Senior Manager of Client Success with me in Agile Fleet Client Success Department. And together, we are your go-to source for any existing clients to make sure we're helping you get the best out of your system. So first of all, I just want to thank everyone who was able to participate in Command 2024. Our host this year was Wake Forest, and they went out of their way to make sure that we felt welcome. It was so great. They even took us down on the field, had the board that said, "Welcome to Command 2024 at Wake Forest." So it was very exciting, and they made us feel at home. But what was even more important is when we landed at Winston-Salem, North Carolina, October 1st through 3rd, attendees had plenty of opportunity to network and learn from their peers and from the Agile Fleet staff. This was another photo of the group that went on the tour of Wake Forest. So they gave us a couple different photo ops. And just a couple of pictures of, the learning in the rooms and some of that networking connections in the hallways and so forth with different clients. It was an amazing few days, and I want you to stay tuned for Command 2025, because that is going to actually be our 25th anniversary of Agile Fleet Incorporated. And so it promises to be the best command yet. and we will have even more learning and networking than ever before. And it will be one that you do not want to miss. And we are finalizing the location, which I'm really excited about. And I'm not going to tell you where it is yet, but I do think that we will be able to tell you that within the next 30 to 60 days. So that's pretty exciting, so you can make your plans. With that, I'm gonna switch it over to Todd here for a little bit, and he's gonna talk about, it's the new year right around the corner. So Todd, what do you have for us to keep in mind for as we go into January?
I have all the answers for everything in life. I'm the guru.
Yes.
No, I have some ideas for you. I don't have all the answers, unfortunately, but that's why I love what we're doing here with Workshop Wednesdays. And then, as Kathy talked about, having the opportunity to go to North Carolina and be together with everyone. That was my first user conference for Command. And it was fantastic because you get the opportunity to learn from a whole heck of a lot of people who are very, very smart, and they're very, very gracious and willing to offer up their advice. And so I'm excited that hopefully what I share with you today is beneficial. But again, being together, being even in the chat to learn a little bit from one another is what I get most excited about. So I'm excited for this new year and look forward to what it has for us, right? 2025. So again, anytime we think about a new year, this time it's a little bit tough. We got the holidays coming up. We've got everybody in every department looking for what is your plan of execution for 2025. So it's a stressful time right now. What hopefully we can continue to think about is our goals, right? And I love this, not because it's from Albert Einstein, but also it says vehicle. And again, for us in Fleet, but just a great quote: our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan in which we must fervently believe and upon which we must vigorously act. There's no other route to success. And for me, this is something that hits home. Whenever we have goals, right? Goals can almost be noise now just because they're used all the time. What we want to do is we need to have a belief in those goals and then act upon it. And having a belief, and then some of the things that you're probably familiar with when it comes to setting goals, having a belief behind everything that you're doing is going to help not only yourself, but your team to make sure that you find that route to success. So for most people, you're probably familiar with SMART, right? Our SMART goals. We need to make sure that our goals are specific, they're well-defined and unambiguous. Right off the bat, that's definitely something that can discourage anybody, yourself included, when you're talking to departments. If they're not clear and unambiguous, you kind of fall short from there. But then there's others, as you're familiar with, measurable, right? Providing a reliable way to gauge process, not only having these goals, but then figuring out how you gauge those with metrics, then making sure that they're attainable. People think goals should be unbelievable stretch goals, right? You definitely want to be ambitious in what you're doing, but you also want to make sure that you take into account the time, capacity, and the skills that are available to you, right? Because nothing kills more than setting something out there that's unattainable from the bat. And not only is it difficult for yourself, but also to sell that to your team. It's kind of, you're just starting from nowhere. Making sure they're relevant, right? The goals that you have, the milestones that you have, make sure that they're serving a relevant purpose, and then make sure they're time-based, right? So they have a clear deadline for all the deliverables, especially the end product, whether you're producing a product or, again, if you have different goals. And so for most people, I think this is pretty common for everyone, is the SMART goals. What I've heard recently, and you can buy into this or you can't, but hopefully it brings another idea to the table, is the progress of FAST, right? So with FAST, we want to frequently discuss, right? I call that the alignment and agility. It's where leaders and directors and managers, they're having frequent conversations about the goals with their teams and their direct reports. And all of these conversations, right, they include checking on progress and ensuring team members have the resources they need, that they're aligned with overall strategy, right? That is huge, because if you're falling off task, if you're coming short, it gives you the opportunity to correct course, right? In the world of planning, especially product planning, there's this agile process, no pun intended, right? But making sure that you're consistently coming together and correcting if you're a little bit off course is wildly important. We want our goals to be ambitious, right? And when I say ambitious, it's more challenging and intentional. We want to trigger everybody to do a little bit harder, to try a little harder, right? They should be difficult, but it's still achievable, right? It's still a possibility to achieve. And what we're doing is we're challenging the status quo of performance, right? And it allows you to outperform your colleagues and your colleagues to outperform with less ambiguous objectives, right? And then it prevents employees and yourself from setting goals that are certain to achieve, right? So having ambitious goals that are challenging and intentional, right? We want to be careful of exaggeration here, right? And making sure that we're not doing the so-called stretch goals, because it's not optimal for the company in every situation. So being ambitious, but being realistic, we want to challenge, but be intentional. Another way or part of this FAST, right? The S is for specific. I think there's the one common theme throughout both FAST and SMART is being clear and being defined as to what metrics you're using, what milestones you're working to, and providing that clarity not only to your stakeholders, to your leadership team, but also to your team and everybody who is part of that goal, that they know where they're going. And my favorite, I think this is just something that I've loved being part of an organization, either as a leader as part of a team, is creating transparency, being as transparent as possible. I know there's certain things you can't be transparent on, but trying to be as transparent as possible. And that helps with a top-down, bottom-up flow of information. And it just lets everybody know, right, who is holding the different metrics for the specific goals, right? And it allows you to ensure alignment with the overall company strategy. So I like FAST goals. It's something that I've been incorporating over the last couple of years as something a little bit different to SMART, but I kind of use them in connection with each other because they're both great things. So what I really wanted to ask everybody here, because there are people from all across the nation, right, from different countries, and they all have different goals. How many people here have set specific goals already for 2025? And what I'd ask, and hopefully you can be active in the chat here, is if you do have goals for 2025, they can be personal, right? Because we're all people and we're all trying to grow. They can be personal if you want to share them, but also for your organization and for your fleet, what are some of those goals you have for 2025? And I think it'll be good, again, to see if there are others that have some of these goals. And again, we talk about being a fleet family. It's great to, if you see somebody else that has some similar goals, maybe connect after this and say, hey, I have this goal. What are some of your specifics on that? How are you going to achieve it? So if you wouldn't mind in the chat, write down some of the specific goals that you have for this year, if you want to share them. And the other thing that I would ask is I'm really interested on who or what is determining those goals, right? And what I mean by that is this a goal that you have because you're trying to, you're motivated to just provide the best fleet experience or the overall best fleet? Are you trying to nominate yourself for some awards this year, like 100 Best Fleets? Or are you in a situation which a lot of people are throughout the US where you have to get to certain specific mandated rules, right? Whether it's EVs, an that strategy, smog, it might be, they're all over the map. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll take a couple seconds, kind of cool off, see if you guys have any of those goals. And then I'd love to hear who's determining those. So Kathy, I see that you presenting during Workshop Wednesdays and popular having clients. Yes, absolutely. And that's something we'd love to have. Is some of our customers coming to Workshop Wednesday and again, collaborating with your peers and showing some real world examples of how you're using FleetCommander, or again, some of the challenges that you're facing. All right, doesn't look like we have many comments here, but feel free, right? We might not read them over the air here, but feel free to add those as we go throughout the presentation today. So Kathy, without further ado, I'll turn it over to you for the top tips.
Okay, one question here. Mr. Burris, did you have a question? Greg, you had your hand up for a moment. I just wanted to know if you had a question or if you were trying to comment. Okay, well, hearing none. All right, I think I need to reshare my screen. Okay, Todd, can you see my screen again?
I see it.
All right, thank you. I see everybody's being a little quiet in the chat today. You know me, I try and get you talking. So if anybody has anything, any goals and stuff, it's okay to put them out there. It might be as simple as you're trying to hire a new technician. It might be you want to expand your key box to the plugin type. Amanda, it looks like you have a question. Go ahead, please. Oh, Anna, can you unmute them?
She should be able to turn her mic on now.
There, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Amanda.
Hey, I was gonna throw it in the chat, but I'm getting a message on my end that says chat is only available during the meeting and it won't let me type anything in. So I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, but one of Indiana University's goals for this year is to again complete an application for top 100 fleets. We have a goal of hiring a new mechanic assistant, and we are working on right sizing goals this year for our fleet.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Those are some good goals. Obviously, you're going to have a busy year. And I know you were talking about 100 best fleets. Just a reminder, the Green Fleets Garage is closing, I believe, this week. So if anybody is applying for the Green Fleet Garage as well, please make sure you go to NAFA's website and get that done right away. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Is anyone else having troubles in the chat? I do see Ray was able to right in the chat. So Ray, I love it. Loyola University, one goal is to replace their antique unleaded gas pump. So with that, I'm sure others of you have had to replace the pumps, right? I can tell you the number one lifesaver that I had, Ray, when I had to replace my fuel pumps, we were having a lot of issues with them. And we knew the one company that was going to bid, that was going to be the lowest price, wasn't going to work because that's who we currently had. And so I wrote in the contract that it must be able to meet demand for 30 days and not break within 30 days. And we were handwriting fuel transactions for about 20 out of those first 30 days. So they had to take it out, and we were able to go with our number 2 vendor, which actually was the successful vendor. So I know there's a lot of different vendors out there. I know we have a lot of clients that use Fuel Master, there's Gas Boy, there's multiple different ones out there. So if anybody would like to help Ray and let him know who you use for your gas pumps, and just drop that in the chat, that would be wonderful, because that might give him, some help in trying to find the right vendor for him and their situation. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you both. Okay, well, I'm going to move on, but again, you can keep that conversation going, because that's why, it's important on Workshop Wednesdays, because we can talk to each other, right? So the top 5 tips for 2025 that I'd like to talk about today. Number 1 is engage in a fleet advisory board. If you do not already have a fleet advisory board, I highly recommend that you do. If any of you have a fleet advisory board, if you would just drop that in the chat, I'd be appreciative. So what is a fleet advisory board? Well, it can be as big as you want. It can be as little as you want. But with my recommendations, what I would encourage you to do is at least have someone from risk management involved, someone from finance involved, some department managers of users of your vehicles, procurement, health and safety, some of your actual drivers. And does anybody have anyone else that they might have on their fleet advisory board? So what's important on a fleet advisory board is knowing that you're doing the right thing and you're getting your clients what you need. And if there's certain things that you can't provide your clients, they know why. Like if there's certain rules or risks or something, or certain, insurance situations with risk management that you can't insure a certain type of driver. It's important that everybody's on the same page, because fleet is, it's the wheels that keep every organization turning and going and going down that road, right? So with that, it's really important to engage the different folks. I would recommend that you meet quarterly at a minimum. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just making sure that you're meeting, talking about what you're doing. If you're looking to, expand into EVs or different alternative fueled vehicles and so forth. You can talk about what the pros and cons are, right? So if you go into EVs, then you need chargers. Well, with that, you might need to talk to your facilities folks and so forth. So just getting a team together that has that 30,000 mile view of the fleet, so they can help you talk through things, and you can help make sure that you know what your users need out of the fleet is so important. So engaging and having a fleet advisory board, I highly recommend you do that. You can ask for a call for volunteers for it, or you can go ahead and you can reach out to those different departments and ask them to, appoint somebody or to be on the committee themselves. So you can just get a lot of good stuff. Procurement rules have changed since COVID. So your finances changed and so forth as well. So just having everybody on the same page, so you have a good, clear message and understanding how AFXB is so important. So we highly recommend a fleet advisory board. Any clarifications on that I can provide for anybody, or does anybody have any feedback on if they use an advisory board? And if so, what types of things do you discuss with your advisory board? And I'll give you just a minute or so to either raise your hand or put the information in the chat. I know not all webinars are interactive like we try and have, so. And again, if you're having troubles in the chat, putting stuff in the chat, just feel free to raise your hand. Okay, well, hearing none, I'm going to go on to my second tip. So my second tip is policy. So policy is so important. You need to make sure you have fleet's policies in place, and the new year is a great place to start for that, right? So with that, what is your fleet policy? Who can drive? If it's an assigned vehicle, can only your employee drive? Can their family members drive? Of these drivers, who is subject to an MVR check? How often do they have to have an MVR or motor vehicle record check? If they're using a personal vehicle, do they get reimbursed if there was a motor pool vehicle available? If they're using a personal vehicle for some reason instead of a motor pool vehicle, do they have to show you proof of insurance? All of these are really good questions, and making sure that you have a strong policy is very important. If you have someone, that has an OWI, are they still going to be eligible to drive your vehicles? I've had some recent conversations with some clients. I can think of 2 clients off the top of my head in the last 3 months that have talked about the policies and the fact that they have either been able to not have legal action taken against them because they had that signed off policy from their drivers, and or they were able to go ahead and put consequences to the driver because the driver had accepted policy and the driver had broken the rules. So policy is so important. And on the Agile system, you can have it set up so the first time they sign on, they have to accept the policy and acknowledge it. And then it's up to you if you want them to continue to accept that policy. We highly encourage you to have them accept that policy no less than annually, but you can set it up for every 6 months if you want. I know one customer that has the folks sign on and accept the policy every transaction that they do. Now that might get a little long for some of your drivers and so forth, not wanting to go through all those extra clicks. But the thing is, once they click that, the system acknowledges it, the system has record of that, so you know that they have accepted that policy and agreed to that policy. When you change your policy, so when you put your policy on your FleetCommander system and you have, say, version 1, make sure you also put a file of that version 1 somewhere in your records. And then when you add version 2, make sure you name it version 2 and add that to your records somewhere. So when it says they accepted version 2, you know exactly what version 2 was if you need to go back to it. Any questions, clarifications, or anything I can do on policy? And has anyone used policy to be able to address an issue? And Ray, I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead, please, with your question. And right now you're muted, so I think you need to unmute.
Okay, there it is.
There you go.
Bingo. Okay, so we did a quite an extensive slog in 22 to go over, a policy that probably was 10 years old, and that has been uploaded into Agile. Now, what I have seen is, at least, and it may be I've missed a setting, but in Agile, it doesn't, when someone first comes in and signs up, or, if they've got a skeleton profile that's been uploaded from our HR system, on that first time, it's not asking them to accept the policies. It's when they return that next time, does it then pop up? Is there a way to get it as part of that initial registration? Have I missed a setting somewhere?
That should be a setting that it's in the beginning. So I would reach out to support. If you want, I can actually reach out to support for you after we're done today, and I'll copy you on the email if
Okay.
that's okay.
Sure.
And we will verify that for you, okay? Because it should have them do it the first time they sign on. So unless they aren't the ones making the reservation, if they aren't the ones making the reservation and they're returning the vehicle, I could see where that might be it, but we'll double check that because it should be a setting. Thank you for bringing that question up, because these are the type of things that we want to make sure we're looking at for you. Anybody else? Okay, Melissa.
Hi. So we
Hi.
had to refer to our policy because we continue to have an issue of people not refueling vehicles. And when certain programs use our cars, when they fill up, it's taken out of their budget. So they're leaving it to the next person to do it. So there was an issue, but we had the policy that they had to refer to, and we explained, well, you checked it, so that's what you have to do. You have to refuel the cars. So
That's awesome. So you were able to use it and be able to make sure that they got fined or got the charges instead of the other person because they
yes,
had accepted it?
yes.
Awesome. That's great. I can honestly say that was one of my biggest fears of switching from us refueling the vehicles to the clients refueling the vehicles when we did some switching around in our fleet. But finding them as well was something that kind of took care of the problem. Once you started charging them for not refueling, but you're so right, making sure that it's in the policy so you can go back and acknowledge those. So that was a great example. Thank you so much, Melissa. Any other feedback? All right, and then we'll go on to the next one here real quick. So the next one that I want to talk about, tip number 3, is just using the tools in the system consistently and frequently. So I truly am amazed, and I know that everyone has different roles that they play in the fleet, and you all sit in different seats, whether it be a manager role or a dispatcher role or whatever. But I am amazed how in the last year I found some people don't even know what this main screen is here, what the main dashboard is, and they'd never seen it before. So I know in Fleet, I lived and breathed off this dashboard. Now, this particular dashboard that I'm showing you is from a test site. So that is why there are so many late for pickup and so many late for return, okay? So I just want to give you a little forecast and forewarning of that. But this is really the greatest place to go first thing in the morning when you want to know about your fleet and what's going on. Because at a glance, you're going to be able to tell what vehicles are departing, what vehicles are returning, how many vehicles are out. But one of the first things I would do when I signed in is I would look for who was late for returning their vehicles, because those vehicles returned late can affect those vehicles that are going out, right? If somebody didn't bring a vehicle back. So making sure that you're looking at late for returns and late for pickups and doing it on a daily basis. Because say somebody doesn't pick up a vehicle today, but then you never address it in this late for pickup section, it's just going to stay out there. And it will stay out there forever until you address it. And any of these are clickable, but you'll be able to, click, see which ones are late for pickup, see which ones are late for return. You can reach out to them. Customer service is great that way. Reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed your vehicle wasn't back. Did you have a problem, or can I extend that for you another day? But making sure you take care of those right away so there's not an issue with folks getting a vehicle the next day. Another thing that we've seen some of in the support line recently is pending requests or change requests. So say you close today, and after closing today, there's somebody that has a reservation for tomorrow and they need to make a change. If they go in tonight to make that change, it typically is going into the pending or change queue, the change request queue. So the next morning, if say they needed it earlier, if nobody is addressing the change in pending queue, then that might not be fixed yet by the time they go to the kiosk. So you just need to make sure that late for returns, any changes, any pendings, things can go into pending for multiple reasons. You might have certain reservations set up to go into pending because you want to assign them a certain vehicle. It also might be that for some reason they didn't have a vehicle type that they wanted assigned available, but it put it in the pending queue because they said that they'd be willing to take another type of vehicle. So you need to look it up, but use this dashboard. This dashboard gives it very clearly to you, yellow, red, green. This is telling you what you need to address and what you need to look at, and it can make your days go so much quicker. And it takes just a few minutes if you look at it every day versus letting it compound. And then also, if you're collecting feedback from your customers, it also is a great way that you can see, what that current data is looking like. How are the customers, looking at you as far as the service and so forth. So it's nice to have that visual. And then also in using these tools consistently and frequently, just a reminder, when you're pulling reports, make sure that you're pulling your reports the same way every time. So you're comparing apples to apples. So in this example, the utilization report, if you're checking for 18 hours a day and you're excluding holidays, you want to make sure that you're always doing that. If the next time you run it, it's 24 hours and you don't exclude holidays, your percentages are going to be skewed. So just make sure you keep track of how you're running it and run it consistently each time. Any clarifications I can do with any of that? And if you want us to go through your dashboard with you, just let Todd or I know, and we're happy to set up a meeting with you to go through your dashboard and what you should be looking at each morning. Wonderful. Okay. Next, number 4, fleet is family. As many of you have heard me say, a fleet is family is so important to me, and you have a very large Agile Fleet family that's surrounding you. So tune into that family in this next year, network and grow. So not only do we have, our user conference command and so forth, where we, celebrate the successes of our different clients. And they also have, like in the upper right-hand corner, time to network and socialize. And in the middle, we're celebrating, their successes. But we also, staff-wise, have get-togethers and so forth too, and all hands meeting. So we can really, understand each other, know what's going on in fleet, talk to each other, know how we can better serve and team build. But I've never worked for such a company that, is just so behind each other, customer-wise and employee-wise. So Todd and I are here to help you. Phelps and his team's here to help you. Sales team's here to help you, anything that you need. And client-wise too. We probably have a client who's gone through whatever it is that you're going through. So just really tune in, participate in Workshop Wednesdays, participate in Command and so forth, and know that we are all behind you. And if we don't know the answers, we do know somebody who probably does know those answers. So we're going to go ahead and help you and find those people. And number 5, this is a direct Fleet Commander tip here. At the user conference, we found some folks that did not know how to ping the key box remotely. So if you have a kiosk and a key box and you have ever been called after hours because somebody left something in a car and needed it back, or they forgot to check the miles on the car or anything like that, and they've returned the keys and now they don't know how to get the keys back, you can take care of this from your phone. You can take your phone or your computer or anything, sign on to your Agile Fleet Commander, and if you go into your kiosk tab, you can, from the drop-down menu here in the middle, right in here, you choose which key you need to release. And there's some good clues here. It talks about the last 5 reservations, departing and returning. So departing, returned, and so forth. You can click on the confirmation number if you need to verify that you got the right one. But you're going to choose from the drop down which key you need to release, and then you're going to click access key, and then that will pop that box open. It will pop the door for them to lift open. It will also get the key, and they can turn the key and get the key out, and then you can either stay on the phone with them or have them call you right back when they are back to the key box to return it, and you can pop that key one more time to put it back into the system. Ray, what is your question?
It's an observation. I don't have a kiosk tab. I only have a key control tab.
Ah, that is something we also need to fix for you then. And that is something that we found with one of the customers at the command. So you need the kiosk tab. Awesome, thank you. See, this is worth it for you, Ray, right there.
I'm just a squeaky wheel looking for oil.
I know, it's great, but these are those things, right? Because there's so many settings out there, right? And so depending on when you were first a customer and stuff, and what system you're on, because some folks are self-hosted, some folks are hosted by us, you know, and so forth. So that can make a difference too. So hi, is this the new Agile version? Because I do not have the cartridge number tab. Are you on kiosk or key control? Whoever's asking that question in the chat. And do you have, you're on the kiosk? Okay, but when you have cartridge number right here, if you click that arrow, you've got nothing? Okay, should I have a kiosk tab in Agile? Oh, it's because, yes, Wanda, thank you. So it is because you're not quite live yet. We're still hooking your kiosk up. So when you get your kiosk up, then this kiosk tab should appear and you should be able to get that. So once we have everything loaded and so forth. So that is why you do not see it yet, Wanda. Okay. But as you guys get that taken care of, I think you're doing that, what, next week or the week after? If for some reason you don't see it at that time, then you let me know and we'll get you all set up. Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate these comments. That's great stuff. Any other questions, comments, observations in this area? All righty. So we're going to go ahead and preview the upcoming products. For some of you who were at Command, you've probably seen some of these screens before and so forth. As you can tell, they say Command. But for those of you that weren't, we just want to make sure that you're aware. So with this we are getting some smart fob key boxes. And so with that, the keys are no longer going to have to be the lefty loosey righty tighty when people are getting keys out of the key box. Instead, it's just a smart fob that plugs in. So it looks, just like you're plugging into the bass player or whatever there. So anyway, it does come with mail slots as well if need be, or just with the key fobs. We have 2 clients that are testing. The boxes did come later than anticipated, but they have been delivered now, and so install is this Friday. So then we have 60 days of testing. So, middle of January, then we should be good to go as long as everything went well. Things have gone very well in testing, just in our environment at the home office and so forth. But as long as everything goes well with the 2 clients that are testing these for us, and thank you for those that are testing for us, then we will be able to go ahead and start quoting and selling these boxes for you. These will save a lot of time. So again, the benefits are no key to turn, easy in, easy out, and they can return it to any position, unlike having to put the key back into the same position. If for any reason the fob is lost, there's no custom replacement fobs required, so the fobs are generic. The key ring doesn't bind up, and because there's no turning to it. And then the mail slot no longer has the little switch in the card holder that gets bent if they put the card in upside down. So this key box, honestly, is going to be a game changer for any of you who are on call after hours. Been there, done that, lived that, and a lot of those issues that you have for after hours are going to be taken care of by this new box. So I know I am super excited about this box. These boxes do also allow you to put in more fobs than what currently is in there. So the smart fob does go ahead and allow for a few more slots than what was previous. What's required is you'd purchase a new panel, so it doesn't have to be the whole box. There's going to be some replacement panels, and you can install and configure the new panel and transfer keys to the new fobs. Also, to get you ready for 2025, the KioWare server. So the KioWare server enables Agile Fleet to see kiosks from a centralized location. So commands can be sent to the kiosks from the server, and information sent to the server from the kiosks. So this just makes it a lot easier for us to keep the kiosk up for you. So with that, you have this server, and when it's offline, we can monitor, and when the kiosk goes offline, we can perform troubleshooting steps to get it back online for you. And we can update configuration files remotely for you. We'll keep up the Windows updates for you. And we can get screen captures if there's any errors, because we're able to see that for you. And then we can push out the new KioWare versions to the kiosk. So what is required for this? So for this, you can just schedule an upgrade session with the FleetCommander support team. So that's at fcsupport@agilefleet.com, or calling our phone number and choosing option 2. And someone will need to be at the kiosk to perform the initial setup. It'll take 30 to 60 minutes of scheduled kiosk downtime. And you're going to install the latest version of the KioWare. You're going to configure KioWare server settings, and then we're going to install a PowerShell module for Windows updates. So FleetCommander support can do, almost all of the upgrade. We can just do that on the phone with you. Next is the Key Control VPN service. So currently, a lot of folks are using a cradle point, and that cradle point is what is feeding the information, back and forth electronically. With the Key Control VPN, you do not need the cradle point anymore. So with that, it just requires a dedicated IP address for the internal firewall rules and 2 network drops instead of 3. And with that, the benefits are you just have 1 network drop instead of 2. There's no more dedicated IP address required. There's no more special firewall rules. All keybox data is encrypted. It's cheaper than using a cradle point. And if you did get a quote at one point and didn't go with it, I would encourage you to get another quote because pricing has changed on this. But it is cheaper than using a cradle point. So if you're using a Verizon cradle point or anything like that right now, or AT&T cradle point, it would be cheaper to do this. And it's more appealing to your network administrators to have this. So if you compare the cradle point to the key control VPN service, the cost is a lower yearly charge. Your reliability isn't going to just rely on a cell signal. Instead, it's relying on your organization's network. The replacement cycle of a cradle point is every 3 to 5 years. So it's kind of like a cell phone. You have to get a new cradle point every once in a while. But with the VPN, it's just installed on the kiosk and you don't have to worry about that. Power requirements, currently it takes 3 power outlets if you have a cradle point and so forth. With this OpenVPN, it would only take 2. So next steps, again, contact client success rep if interested. So reach out to Todd or I, and we can help you get that going so that is easier for you and your fleet's more efficient. And we can help provide documentation as well for you to give to your IT staff. .NET custom reports are still coming along. You know, we had a goal of trying to get them all done by the end of the year, and we've kind of extended that out to July 1st because the queue has been built up quite a bit, and we want to make sure that our programmers are still keeping the new releases coming out as well. So as soon as we get your .NET verified with you and get that worked out, then we'll go ahead and put it in the queue. But .NET custom rewrites are coming along. And then again, that's if you have any custom billing report that you need rewritten and so forth, because classic ASP is going away. And that is a Microsoft decision, not an Agile Fleet decision. So we are at the mercy of Microsoft on that one. Okay, so you've heard a lot from me, and I'm going to turn it back over to Todd unless there's any questions for me right at the moment, and Todd's going to bring it home for us.
All right, I'm assuming there's no questions. But
sounds good. Take it home, Todd.
All right, we'll get through this pretty quick. Just as always on Workshop Wednesday, we want to make sure you're aware of your resources, whether it's your first time or your 100th time to Workshop Wednesday. Like Kathy said, we had an opportunity as a team to meet back in October. These are all the fine faces behind Agile Fleet and supporting you. You know, Kathy and I, we always say we get the opportunity to be in front of you, and that's great. There's a lot of people supporting us on the back end, so we wanted to make sure that, you know, we always recognize them and know that you have a team. Sorry, something is happening with my slide there. My apologies. Again, always, we want to help you succeed within your fleet, whether it's FleetCommander or some of the other aspects you have, specifically talking about goals, what you may have for goals in 2025. We would love to work with you, and specifically, you know, everybody on this call, everybody that wasn't able to make this call, we want to make the Workshop Wednesdays in 2025 more interactive, but also we want to hear from our customers, our users. There's a lot of value that you bring to the table. There's a lot of things that you do differently. And so I'll keep it quick, but we had an opportunity just recently where one of our customers got on another call with a newer customer, and they both had similar challenges. The benefit was that our customer had been with us for a while. They had the capability of addressing those challenges. And they've been doing it for like the last couple of years. And so they actually walked this new customer through that experience, what they needed to do inside Agile Fleet, some of the limitations, right, between some of the rules that are within FleetCommander support. There's a lot of customization, what you had to do to get to that point. They walked them through that, and it was an awesome experience for not only the customer to learn, but for all of us to learn how we go and we tackle these projects. So we'd like to throw it out there. If you do want to be a presenter or a co-presenter on our next workshop Wednesday or one of our workshops Wednesdays, please reach out to Kathy. You can also, if you want to respond in the chat right now, you can do that as well. We're looking forward to hearing a little bit more about how you're using FleetCommander and how you're using it to accomplish your goals or address some of the challenges that you have within your fleet. As always, we do have FC Drive. If you haven't checked it out by now, I encourage you to check it out. It's a phenomenal product. We're always adding to it. If you see something or you're having challenges or you have questions where you feel that maybe a video or an article will help or benefit you and your users, let us know. We're always taking feedback and looking to add. If you don't happen to be part of this Workshop Wednesday or other things that we put out there, we have a really robust YouTube channel that allows you to learn a whole heck of a lot about our solution. Some are very high level overviews and others are in detail into what you need to do in order to get FleetCommander customized to help you solve your challenges. And then there's always those other resources that we have on Agile Fleet Online. White papers are fantastic. User groups are fantastic. As always, there's a fleet management blog and our quarterly webinars. Just want to make sure that we have our workshop Wednesday, but we also have a quarterly webinar that speaks specifically to topics and business segments. So it may be related to fleet. It may have nothing to do with fleet. It just gives us an opportunity to broaden our horizons and our perspective. And last, if you're not willing to or don't want to be part of Workshop Wednesdays, we'd always want to hear your feedback, and whether it's at Command 2025 or just through a white paper, we'd love to hear your thoughts, collaborate with you. And if you feel like you don't have much to say, I promise you, you probably have a lot to say. You're just being a little humble. I would recommend you step out of your humble zone for a little bit, because there's a lot that each of us can benefit from you individually, and the things that you've done and the experiences you've had. So I'd encourage that. Maybe that's something for you for 2025. You've been kind of silent with your fleet, and now you want to make sure that everybody knows a little bit more about what you do and the amazing people that you work with, the wonderful teams that you have working under you. And always our Agile Fleet support team, right? Technical support or customer success, please reach out to us. Hopefully you have our contact information. If not, it's here. And connect with us socially, right? Through all of our different mediums. I personally love LinkedIn. That's where you'll find me a little bit more. Probably same with Kathy and some of our others. And then last, I want to take some time and get you on the QR code. If you have ideas for what you think we should do for a Workshop Wednesday topic, maybe there's something in FleetCommander that you're struggling with or you need to find answers to, let's have that as a topic. Or again, if there's things that you want to ask your peers and we present those questions to the entire Agile Fleet family, please let us know what you want to hear and what you want to learn more about. So I know we're at the time, but are there any questions? If you do, please put them in the chat. If not, hopefully you'll have our contact information and you can reach out to us. We really appreciate you being part of the Agile Fleet family and for always taking the time to be with us. And Kathy, is there anything else you want to add there?
I think we're pretty good. So I did just put the FC Drive link in the chat, and that person was asking, I don't know who that person is because it doesn't tell me, so I apologize. The other information will also come in the PowerPoint to you in a couple days. But if you need something else from me, please feel free to email me or let me know who you are, and I can email those resources to you. So awesome. If not, I think that's good. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I'm guessing a lot of you might have some extra time off next week. So I hope that is what you get to do. And thank you so much for being a part of Workshop Wednesday. And thank you so much, Todd, for your help today. And we appreciate your business and hope you guys have an amazing day. Thanks for joining us and for your help.
See y'all.